Well, what a fabulous day to have the opportunity to talk about prayer. Those of you who know me know I love prayer. And we pray a lot around here. It's just sort of what we do. So this Thursday, May 4th, is the National Day of Prayer. Yes, it has been debated by those who don't think we should have a National Day of Prayer, but we still have a National Day of Prayer. Whether or not you choose to observe it is totally your choice. The first National Day of Prayer started in 1952 when Congress asked people to turn to God in prayer and meditation. In Unity, we turn to God in prayer and meditation all the time. That's how Unity was founded. And so for us as New Thought metaphysicians and spiritual students, prayer is something that can be as easy as every breath that you take. Unity was founded in the activity and belief in the power of prayer. Myrtle Fillmore, the image shown on the screen, our other co-founder, okay, let's try that again. Myrtle Fillmore, the other co-founder. Very good. Yes, you're getting it. She healed herself of tuberculosis by the activity of prayer. One of Myrtle's favorite prayers was the prayer of faith, which is why we're going to explore that a little bit today. I'm wanting to share some Unity classic prayers with you in the next couple weeks. So as with many of our Unity prayers, they are basically a collection of powerful affirmative statements. That's all. So when we talk about affirmation, our prayers that Unity people or New Thought people have written are just more affirmative statements that are grouped together. Not just one affirmation, many. And so that power expands with these prayers. And these affirmative truths can empower you to look at your lives differently and experience that level of truth and support regardless of the outer situation in your life. Unity Minister Eric Butterworth clarified why we pray when he said, "Prayer is not something we do to God, but to ourselves." So let's begin at the very beginning. Unity was founded in the activity of prayer, but not just any kind of prayer, affirmative prayer. An affirmative prayer is not asking for something or begging. That's what is called supplication. You may have learned that process being raised in a different faith. In New Thought, affirmative prayer is speaking the words of truth that already exist, even though you may not be seeing that in the outer experience of your life. It may look pretty chaotic, for example, but affirming that the truth and that God is ever present will do you more good than begging for someone or something else to fix it. And so we claim the truth that already exists. We stand strong in its existence and its expression. And we know that there is an absolute truth in the realm of spirit. It's all about the invisibles. We've talked about this before. It's what is inner and visible only to you. The inner you. the spiritual you, the quantum physics you. You know, that one. Not the one here made of flesh, the invisible you. So this is the type of prayer that Myrtle Fillmore, I tricked you, used when she healed herself of tuberculosis. And this activity was the spark of the unity movement. Charles had to figure out what on earth did she do, and from that it led to their writings and printing. And so in 1889, with the publication of Modern Thought, the unity movement was born. Now, within a year's time, the magazine changed to just Thought. And in the first edition of Thought, in April 1890, Myrtle Fillmore announced the opening of a new department that she called the Society of Silent Help. Fast forward 100 years, it's now called Silent Unity. You're probably very familiar with it. But it was founded a long time ago. In that magazine article, she wrote, and see if this sounds vaguely familiar to you. All over the land are persons yearning for truth, yet so dominated by the surrounding error that they find it almost impossible without a helping hand to come into harmony with the divine spirit, to open a way for those and to help them overcome their separation, their ills and troubles, is the object of the Society of Silent Help. Whoever will may join this society, the only requirement being that members shall sit in a quiet, retired place, if possible at the hour of 10 o'clock every night, and hold in silent thought for not less than 15 minutes the words that shall be given each month by the editor of this department. And so Charles and Myrtle provided affirmative statements for the whole of the budding Unity Ministries to hold for 15 minutes every evening. And that is exactly how Silent Unity was born. At 10 o'clock, people would band together to sit together in the living room of Charles and Myrtle, and sometimes sing a hymn or two to get into the worship experience. And they would pray, and they would hold their affirmative thoughts, and they would sit in the silence together for 15 minutes. And then they would pray for the people who actually requested prayer. They would pray for them by name, and they would claim the highest and best for them in health and abundance, well-being, new jobs, schools, homes, all of the things that we are still holding in prayer in this ministry, with the chaplains, with the consciousness circle, with our prayer slips, and with Silent Unity. None of that has changed, except for we don't do it at 10 o'clock at night, we do it at 10 o'clock in the morning. But the essence of that prayer has been alive and well for a long, long time. And the important thing to understand is that affirmative prayer is a statement of truth. There's a definition that should be up on the screen. Thank you. Affirmative prayer is a positive statement of truth. By the use of affirmations, we claim and appropriate that which is ours in truth. It is the act of saying yes to God, yes to truth, yes to the invisible. in the face of contradicting circumstances. That is faith. The appearance of things hoped for with the evidence of things not seen. And so by affirming truth, we are lifted up in consciousness out of error thinking into the consciousness of spirit. And a denial is the mental process of erasing from consciousness the false beliefs. Denial clears away a belief in evil or error thinking as a reality and makes room for the establishing of truth. So a denial is a relinquishment, a release of a thought or belief that appears in your mind and possibly right in front of you that it's real. We want to deny the power of that circumstance, that it is not bigger than God. We want to deny that it is the overshadowing thought in our life, because we know that beyond a shadow of a doubt, the truth is what is real. We can't always see the truth. We have to trust that it's there. So denials work as though they are gently sweeping away the cobwebs in our mind. I got a few cobwebs. Anybody else got a few cobwebs up there? Yes. Sometimes you need to do the spring cleaning and clear your mind of those dusty cobwebs, those old thoughts that no longer serve your highest good. And so with the use of the denial, we are then able to claim the truth and have its power stick. Our affirmations need to be bold and positive and strong statements. I love to shock people when they come in here during the week and they say, "Oh, how are you doing?" And then they tell me, "Oh, mediocre." And I say, "Well, let's try magnificent. Let's affirm that right now." And we go through this process, and it's an awakening that I see on their faces, because magnificent was not the word on the forefront of their brain until I encouraged them to give it a try. Just for a minute. It's like a new article of clothing. You try it on, you see how it fits. Sometimes you keep them, sometimes you don't. But you have to try. And so we claim the affirmative truth. And we use the tools of affirmations and denials together. They go together like salt and pepper or peas and carrots. They're just not the same, just one or the other. They work best together. It's just the thing that they do. So they are two movements of the mind that express the power to both reject an idea and to accept an idea, to let go of an idea and to claim a new. I review all of this because in unity prayer, our foundation is in both affirmations and denials. We say affirmations and denials all the time, but it should really be denials and affirmations, because we tend to forget the power in the denial. And we can affirm, and we are so happy affirming. But unless we use the power of denial to sweep the cobwebs away, we're just putting sugar candy coating on cobwebs. So consider using them together. As I said earlier, many classic unity prayers are a collection of affirmative statements. Next to the prayer for protection, which we in many churches use every single week, it is the prayer of faith, which has been inserted into your bulletin, that was originally written by Hannah More Kohaus, who was a New Thought published author of the day and had multiple spiritual books to her credit. She became a friend of Myrtle Fillmore's through correspondence. They didn't have the internet. And it was said that the prayer of faith was the most used prayer in Unity. It was absolutely a favorite of Myrtle's. And the first time that this prayer appeared in a Unity publication was in August 1898 in the issue of Wee Wisdom. Now, Wee Wisdom was a publication specifically for children. Can you imagine growing up with a children's magazine that taught you Unity principles and empowered you to be an incredible spiritual being? Wee Wisdom had the blessing of being the longest running children's magazine in the United States, and it was discontinued in 1991. So for almost 100 years, children, parents, and grandparents were blessed by this magazine. And the prayer of faith affirmed, it appeared in that magazine many, many, many times over the years. We have a cardinal listening in on the windowsill. What a powerful truth, this prayer. So I'm going to invite you to affirm the first 3 paragraphs only with me at this time, because that was her original writing of this prayer. Does everyone have their copy handy? All right, let's go. God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger feed. God walks beside me, guides my way through every moment of this day. I now am wise, I now am true, patient, kind, and loving too. All things I am, can do, and be through Christ, the truth that is in me. God is my health, I can't be sick. God is my strength, unfailing quick. God is my all, I know no fear, since God and love and truth are here. Can you imagine being a young person growing up with this, empowering you every step of the way? Wow. I didn't have that experience. I had to learn it later in life. So the version that I shared with you has a 4th verse that was added sometime later. I couldn't find exactly when or by whom in my research, but I really like it. Let's affirm that one as well. Ready? God is my wealth, I can't be poor. God is my true abundant store. His indwelling presence brings to me health, happiness, and prosperity. Yes. And so I say yes to all of that for myself and for you, because these are powerful affirmative statements, and we can all benefit from this truth being at the forefront of our minds as we go through our lives when it looks like chaos. But this little treasure has the invisibles in it. And so the more that we can affirm those invisible truths for ourselves, the more powerful we can stand when what is happening in front of us doesn't reflect this. Because that's happened a couple times, don't you think? Now, in my research for this message, I did come across a scan of a typed index card that said the adapted prayer of faith, which was used in the Wee Wisdom from the 1930s and beyond. But for some reason, whenever we talk about the prayer of faith, we go back to this original. Not really sure why that is, but I want to share with you the 2 lines that were the adapted. It is only in the first verse, lines 3 and 4, and I apologize, I printed these before I learned this miraculous reworded version. And so the New Revised would read, God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger feed. God dwells within me, guides my way through every night and every day. So it's that phrase, God dwells within me, which is the key change. And so I wanted to point that out because this is something that we as a unity movement are going through right now in our time of evolution. It's a perfect example of what's happening. Our movement being founded in 1889 and with the studies and the spiritual growth and experiences of the Fillmores and their peers happening at that time of our historical era, we are using truth that is taught in that timeline. We are using language that is taught in that timeline. However, the reality is those words that are being used may not accurately reflect our beliefs, and that causes confusion to people. And so we're being very mindful as we move forward into the 21st century about our language and about our word choices and about, is this really what unity teaches in its spiritual philosophy? It's not about throwing away the past. It is about clarifying our belief. And that is critical. And so this mindfulness is causing the entire unity movement to answer this question. Does the habitual language we use in our teachings and prayers speak of a God within or a God outside? You follow? Does this language speak of a God within or a God outside? You recall the one outside, guy, long beard, sits on a cloud? Yeah, we all know him. But that's not what unity teaches. Unity principle number 2 says divine spark within, that each and every life source, including you and me, has divinity within us. God is everywhere present. So really, it's not an either or, it's another one of those yes ands. God is within and God is without, but it's not only the guy in the cloud. Did I confuse you? No, okay, just checking. Because this is important for New Thought metaphysical students to really grasp. And so, knowing that truth, I'm going to ask you a question. And I'm going to look forward to Wednesday when I have Wednesday explorations, where we have the opportunity to have dialogue about the Sunday service in an informal environment. And my question to you is, based on all of this sharing and your knowledge of unity principle number 2, ask yourself, when you pray, to what or to where are you praying? I'll repeat that. To what or to where are you praying? I see a few heads nodding. That's a doozy, isn't it? I am going to so look forward to Wednesday evening, where we will have the opportunity to discuss this further. But in the meanwhile, my prayer for each and every one of you is that you have a very powerful prayer practice. Consider using the prayer of faith or a version that fits your consciousness right now. You can memorize it, you can write a new one, you can create something entirely your own. But know that when we collect affirmative statements into a powerful phrase, and we are acknowledging absolute truth, there is no outer experience that can stand in the way of truth. It will not stand up to it. When you go into a cave and you turn on the flashlight, the darkness goes away. And that is what affirmative prayer does. Linda Martella Whitsett, who was the author of this book, How to Pray Without Talking to God, which was the book that we used in the affirmative prayer class that Rosa taught earlier this year, she said that our goal is to learn and practice prayer language consistent with our evolving spiritual understanding. I love unity. I love the Fillmores. I love the teachings. I love metaphysics. However, we cannot stay stuck in the past. We must take these truths and evolve them forward. Charles Fillmore said, I reserve the right to change my mind. And if he were up here today, he would not be teaching what he taught in 1889. He would have evolved his language. And probably a little bit more, because he was an incredible thinker, always curious, always expanding, always wondering, always seeking truth. And he said he went to headquarters at 10 o'clock every evening to go straight to the source, to sit in the silence, and that was his prayer time. And so if you don't have a daily prayer practice, I encourage you to start one. You don't have to sit in the silence for 15 minutes. I know that may seem daunting. Start for 1 minute. Give yourself the gift of reading the daily word, or some of the affirmative prayers, or singing some of the positive music as you're getting ready to work. You don't have to sit and pray. You can move and pray. It doesn't matter. It's about lifting up your consciousness into a space where you know beyond the shadow of a doubt that God is present. Our world needs all of us to be those prayer warriors. Our shift in consciousness is the only way that we can co-create a harmonious world that works for all. And so our world needs us and others like us to know the truth and stand firm and claim it. And so I invite you to join me as a prayer warrior and to know that truth for yourself. To know that God is good and God is present everywhere, all the time. Namaste.